This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in Colorado with the pen-published author Natasha Brune, who takes readers on a journey of triumph over adversity and a real-life story of perseverance. I'm joined here with the author, speaker, entrepreneur, Kimberly. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. Mahalo.
I'm going to start off a little bit about yourself. You graduated with a 4.0 from Hill College, and you've been self-employed since 2010. You completed a residential drug and rehabilitation program following a year, basically a half a year in a local prison where you were awarded a pardon in 2018. Now, as a daughter of a deceased published author, you enjoy a strong marriage in Colorado. As an investor, you and your husband own millions in real estate, all self-managed and developed. You're currently the owner of 3 companies as well as a nonprofit organization. I mean, really, it's safe to say life did not always look like this. So why don't we start going way back and share with us what life looked like for you growing up?
And I would say mother was a full-time working 9 to 5er who did not have a vehicle anymore. And all 5 of us were my 4 siblings and I lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, but were first separated when she left my father when he was on a photo shoot one day and she knew he'd be gone all day. So she had us all pack up. She left the dog, she left the vehicle, and separated our family for a year. And we lived and grew up at 1545 P.E. Coy Street in Honolulu, Hawaii, 96822. I still remember apartment 202 was actually on the 3rd floor. It's really weird. 202, 3rd floor. Walk up and no pets and very tight quarters for 2 boys of teenage age, as well as 2 daughters and myself, the 3rd daughter, and then my mom. That's how I grew up going to public school.
Wow.
And I'll just throw this in, even though I believe ADHD is a paradigm now, I did have it and it went undiagnosed because no one knew what that was in the 70s. If, you can take yourself back to that time frame, no one knew what it was.
I mean, that is a story within itself, just your childhood. I mean, in cases of trauma, is it easier to write the details in the third person so you can kind of separate the character from yourself? And why has that approach worked well for you?
That's funny you ask that because that came up when we hired a proofreader and a ghostwriter to double check the work that I had done. And I flipped back and forth because of the trauma. And she thought it was unusual because she had never seen that writing style. And she said that when I was discussing the abuse and the events of the abuse, that I would use the third person. And so she had to go through it and fix everything so it flowed well, so it didn't seem weird with the third and the first person. And it is a natural way to protect yourself because you go through this form of PTSD and you say, well, this is an outside person I'm speaking of. And that's another reason why I came up with the character named the Wise Marie.
That is fascinating. I mean, you are no stranger to adversity. Your life story is filled with unimaginable struggles. You are proof that a journey from addiction and abuse can be overcome. Touch more a little bit on that dark chapter of your life for us.
Being at home with a single parent, you're left home for long periods of time, which is called the devil's workshop. As we all know, idle time is the devil's workshop. And you mix in siblings who are already dabbling in drugs at levels of cocaine, freebasing it. That's what we called it back then. Dealing it, bringing it in, smuggling it in from other places. And that's my own brother I'm speaking of. So he was the first person who passed me the crack pipe. And it's amazing. And he also did it with my other brother who's no longer with us because he did not make it through the addiction. But from that, I will say that getting involved in that dark side, you are hanging out with the squalid. Okay. Well, what does that mean? That means you yourself become the squalid. So you're attracting the squalid. Okay. And more of the squalid. And then more severe of levels within that community. Right. So like you have the lower squalid, the higher, like where, and you're mixing with gangsters of all types, which is dangerous and not good to be in those types of situations, right? And then you become yourself an addict and affected. I had children, lost my children. The children got abused. One of the children got abused. I speak about him in the book, Ace. His character's Ace. I fictionalized all the characters to protect everyone because not everyone is a fan that I wrote this story about the Wise Marie. And I didn't throw any gangsters. I didn't rat on anyone, not in my entire life. I want to make that abundantly clear. I went ahead and put myself in prison and didn't get an attorney. So I did that because I knew it was time to change. So that is what the darkness was. It was drugs. It was abuse. It was being within the squalid community and then further being like, as you start hanging around with the murderers and then other people who are doing more violent crimes and things, and you're not aware, even though you're not part of it, you're like, how did I get myself involved with these kinds of people? You think, good. No wonder my mom calls me a monster. I'm not invited to Thanksgiving anymore.
Yes, I mean, so basically, the names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. I mean, years later, you found solace in writing. And one day in 2020 lockdown, you began a story that went all the way back to the 90s and across the ocean to Hawaii. Explain to us how this writing began that day.
Well, during the lockdown, as you know, we were focusing on masks, toilet paper, everyone installing a bidet. We put the bidet in. It was awful, right? Shelves and shelves of food because the 93-year-old mom lives with me and she's like, oh, this is like the wars. We have to stock up. It's like the depression and all these things, right? So we had all this food and I started going stir crazy because I was watching the news too much and getting obsessive with like getting undressed everyone was required to get undressed in the garage if they went anywhere before they came in. We had to wash everything because Mr. Como, the governor of New York, said you got to wash all your coats. And so I was taking everything so literal that I drove my family nuts. And then it was suspect that I might have been exposed to COVID. So I was put down and I was like quarantined to the basement. And it was there that between the basement and the bedroom that I said, I have to do something because what am I freaking out? My companies were shut down. So I picked up my laptop and I said, let's go write a book. I think I'm going to write a book. And I just started as therapy. And the therapist at the time, I don't do therapy anymore. I do mindset training. But at the time, it was suggested by the family that I see a therapist. And even my regular doctor's like, just eat the marijuana gummies. This is a crisis. We're all doing this right now. Like, it's insane, right? So I think about it now and it's funny, but there was so much more going on. So I picked up the book. I wrote until the trauma chapter of chapters 9 and 10 are horrific. It made me throw up when I attempted to do the audiobook as it was recommended by publishers. I recorded in my own tongue. I threw up as a form of purging I relived the whole trauma. Well, so but I fixed the book, and that's how we got to the Paradise book, which is a separate matter. So that
Yeah, I mean, that is a start. 2020, you're down in the basement trying to get away from the news. They're trying to get away from you because you could have had COVID. So in 2020, you began writing, but really the passion to finish what you started did not come until 2024. Did you post an awakening? Well, what was the awakening that really unleashed your writing at full speed, would you say?
So what happened, I'll tell you why I stopped, because I went on a real estate venture to Hawaii for 2 years, and I had to sneak into Maui as an essential worker, and I know this is going on TV, but I was legitimately attached to that environmental company. But in order to get to the house on Maui, get it prepped for sale, I had a tenant there and all the moratorium and everything else. I had to go to Maui and do a very, very, very crazy real estate adventure that will be a chapter of its own in the next book because all that went on, right, during the pandemic. I was re-traumatized because I helped the children. I call them the children of the corn with a K. They come from the man of the corn that I write about in the book. So after going through trauma again with these adult children during the pandemic, I came back and I hit it in 2024 when I went to a multifamily mindset, believe it or not, seminar. And they were weaving in Napoleon Hill and some of the Bob Proctor mindset. And that's all the stuff I do, right? And so it triggered in me, and my assistant and I were looking at each other and we were not happy with the work, with the one client's work that we were doing is dangerous. I mean, not for her, but for me. And I was going on site and dealing with the squalid again, but on the other side where I was helping the squalid. Okay. And I said, one of the girls asked me in the mindset of the multifamily. She said, "What do you have in your treasure chest of things you could do besides the things you're doing now?" And I said, "I have a book." And she was like, "A book? Weave in the real estate." And I said, "Okay, okay." I said, "It's more about like," she goes, "Finish the book, write another one on the real estate." So she was the one, and I didn't get along with her too much, but she lit the fire under me and told me, "You have a great story. Tell me a couple stories from this book." So I told her I got poisoned by my daughter, like attempted to, like, and she was like, "Wait a minute, is that the first book?" I said, "No, that's the second book." She's like, "Write the first book because the first book, it sounds awesome. And the second book sounds like it's going to be even better. And you're covering all these topics that are going to help people. Like, how can you benefit someone from the book?" I said, "Oh, I'm sure I'd turn someone who's getting abused, locked in a closet, trafficked, on drugs, and turn them into a real estate mogul, an administrator. Guaranteed to hear my story." And she was like, "Write the," excuse my French, I didn't mean to say, "Write the book, write the book." And I said, "Okay." And that's what I did. I rewrote The Wise Marie. 2 weekends, I did the first thing and I went, "This is, ugh." And I went through again and I wrote the entire book in 3 days myself. I didn't even know how to use Chat GPT then.
Wow, what a story. What began in 2020 obviously came to be in 2024. The Wise Marie is a story of a bad girl gone good. I mean, this journey through life in the streets as she navigates gangsters, addiction, and turmoil. I mean, this is your story, is that right?
It is, and I wrote 3 children's books about the same character because I was triggered by in a class, a writer's class from Peggy McCall, best-selling author, and, you know, I was like, she said, "If you're brave enough, you could cross genres." I said, "I could write about Marie when she was young on all her adventures in Wisconsin." Has traveled a lot as a child, believe it or not, and I was exposed to a lot. And, it was great. I All my stories, just so you know about the children's, I just wanna clarify, they are books that do not have any technology. There's only navigation. Okay. There's only a record player as far as technology went back then because it's stories in the 70s and 80s. And then it stops like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, where they're going to intersect where she goes bad. And that's all the logos come in. You look deeper, you'll see what we're doing.
Wow, what a story. I mean, this is a story of drugs, gangsters, and elegance while making wisely made bad decisions. Why the title Wise Marie? And is the Paradise Edition the most recent?
The Paradise is the most recent, and it won the LA Tribune critically acclaimed bestseller award because it was put through their bestseller award process. So I did a photo shoot and a book tour last year on that in LA, New York City. Then the rest of the girls did it in like, Las Vegas and other parts. And I attended the book tour and was marketing the Wise Marie Paradise because they did a whole like analysis report on it. And they said it not one typo. Okay, and I edited the final edit because I read the book, remember the audio, so I caught all the typos that the other people who worked on it didn't. That's why I publish my own books now. And so the Wise Marie was named Wise because of the like what you just said, the opposite of it, but it's also wise, like wise girl, wise guy. And the reason why I set it up in New York and changed it was because I was afraid because I have union bosses and other people in there. And while they're deceased, there's fragments of stories. There's nothing legitimate that ties them to any organized. I mean, everyone knew they were organized crime anyway, and I was dating and I got trafficked by my own brother to the grandson, right? So I write about all of that because that's what people do when in that kind of like my brother used me to get them to be Teamsters. So that's why they want to make this into a movie because it goes into so much more. It goes into craft service in the movies and how my brother was dealing drugs to all the actors. And I'm not going to say who, but the people he was giving the beverages to also had a little cocaine, right, with it. So this was going nuts in the 80s when the coke was being brought here, right? Pablo Escobar and all of that. I'm not saying that's where this came from. I'm saying that those were the days. Okay. And so that is what we got the name from. And in Hawaii, they call everyone Mary as a form of like a term of endearment and as a nickname like Mary. So in New York, it's Marie. So I created the character Marie Lombardi and I set everything in New York with golf instead of surf. And then Hollywood producer Phil Gofine and Peggy McCall told me at the Paramount studio when I went there for an event and to pitch my story, they said, this has to go to Hawaii. Hawaii's where it's at. You got Mama, you got The Rock, you got Singer on Broadway, you got all that going on. You got to take Magnum PI. We were bringing back Hawaii. And I said, but they all know me there. And he said, that's the point. We're going to expose the underbelly of Hawaii. It's not about hula and Mai Tais and this and that. People are getting robbed in Waikiki. Like, bring it out so everyone knows they have the same problems as New York. And so I decided, okay, Phil, I'm going to write it. And he said, put it in your real name. I said, no way, Jose. Well, that's where I draw the line. We're going to be Natasha Brune all the way. So that's where the pen name came from.
That makes a lot of sense. And that was a loaded question right there. Normally, I give very short answers on why the title. That was a great one. I mean, this
I had to take you there, and I had to tell you how it changed back and why it has paradise and why number 2 is paradise of darkness. Like, it's all going to be related, and it's Hawaii. That stuff happens there, folks. I'm sorry.
I mean, the book blends an autobiographical narrative with a fictional backdrop set against a contrasting background of Hawaii. I mean, this is a protagonist in paradise, really. I mean, what age is this a suitable read for, would you say?
Okay, because there's triggers. I had to list the trigger warning in the beginning of the book. That was, she said, the ghostwriter told me you cannot. Ghostwriter means she did editing. Okay, she didn't change any of the content. We had to pull one of the stories out because she didn't want anything coming back to me, even though I wasn't part of that incident, and even though that ex-husband of mine is deceased. They felt that to protect me, and in case that other person that he was involved in is still alive and not, whatever, we're going to take it, keep it simple, and make sure that we do not trigger folks. So to answer your question, that is going to be under a parent's discretion if they want their 16-year-old to read it. But I would definitely give it to a 15 or 16-year-old who you believe is dabbling in dope, who's dabbling in sex, who's dabbling in wanting to go live with her boyfriend and anything else, because you could think of it as a scared straight book. Because if that 15-year-old who thinks she's 19 and she's living under your roof and you want her to read that book, she'll read that book and become horrified in chapters 9 and 10. And she'll think twice about picking up that little Coke bag, the crack bag, the meth, the Valium, any of that. She'll be like, huh, do I want to end up like Marie and get all this? Maybe I better not. Maybe I better go talk to somebody. And that's what it's truly about. It could save someone there. But I like to do the disclaimer because everyone's so sensitive now. And if a Republican family says I left the book that's for, whatever, because I don't leave the book in those book drops. I leave stickers instead because I don't want that to happen and have someone say, oh my gosh, you triggered this thing. She was raped when she was little. So 18 years old and over would be what it is. But if you're having issues, I definitely give it to your 16-year-old or your 15-year-old to read. Boy, girl, transvestite, asex, non-binary. I don't care who. It's going to help anyone.
I mean, as a father myself, I say we need more of these type of content out there. And sadly, the age goes lower and lower when this can be used. I think it's really important. I mean, readers are drawn into a world of drugs and gangsters, and it reveals the consequences of risky decisions. I mean, was reliving some of these scenarios painful to put to paper for you?
Some of it was a healing process, if that makes sense. Because when you're traumatized, okay, not only as a female, men get raped too, non-binary, we all have our things, right? How you deal with it at the time, your first instinct is to take it and put it on the shelf. Okay? I'm going to deal with it later. I'm going to take it here and put it on the shelf. And I must have done that with a ton of things. And so by writing it, it did release that pain and it made me develop a better self-image of me that had been, it brought out the real me, the authentic person. Because after I got clean, I was embarrassed because okay, let's back up. When I went and got my job, my first job as a previously convicted felon, I had a very hard time. So back then, now you don't have to do this because they want to hear the authenticity. They want to hear the real, right? But back then, in the early 2000s, you had to hide it because it was frowned upon. And so that's how I navigated to get jobs and everything else is I'd come in, prove myself, and then tell people, I got to tell you something because I don't want it to come back because I'm an honest person and I want to be upfront with you. And I don't want you thinking you have some criminal working and then you find out about it. And I would blow all of their minds, all these people I work for. I did the same thing. And they were just amazed that SWAT Team Sally and got taken down by the DEA and the ATF and the dogs came in and then now I'm running their company. But they appreciated it. And I'm in touch with every ex-boss that I've ever had. Every boss, they respect me, they like me. Some of them I'm friends on Facebook. Like there's no blood, like how when you leave there's no bitterness, even though they were upset that I was leaving, right? Working for their company. They were always truly amazed at how I was able to put on the persona, go sell a job at a hotel, go sell a construction job. I never told them about my former children, so I think they'd ever connect to me. That's how I did it.
Full transparency, basically moving forward. I mean, this is a multi-book series. What hopes do you envision beyond just a book series?
I am hopeful that we have a Broadway musical. My assistant and fellow partner of our nonprofit, she writes music. But of course, I'd like someone like a Joan Jett or Lady Gaga to take it or J-Lo or whatever and do a musical, right? Because you could do a West Side Story from it, right? And we already have everything written. It's cooking. It's right. It's already here in the can. We have a Hawaii screenplay. We have a New York screenplay for Broadway. Like it's a draft, obviously, but the soundtracks have been selected. Most writers can't separate themselves, from that. And I want to throw that out there that we have the capability to take snippets of the story and create blockbuster movies and do it. Like I'm not going to use Marvel, but let's just use that. We could do a prequel. We could do a volume 1, like boom, volume 2. But as Phil Goldfine says, you need the first one to do good and game over for everything else. You're going to sell video games. You're going to sell dolls. You're going to sell, like, not intentionally, but you're going to get offers for all those things. TV streaming series. So that's something that he and I wanted to do. And I'm not going to say it because it's on. I'm not going to throw people under the bus. But people in Hollywood got wind of our idea of a Hawaii series. And I'm going to say this because it's all, you know me, I'm transparent. We created something, and then a group of wealthy billionaire movie stars decided to do a similar series with the one gangster who I did not reference in my book. The one union boss or the one boss, crime boss, I did not mention in my book. And they're now going to do a series or a movie series, and it's involving a lot of very famous people. And I've already approached it on a legal end, and I decided to scrap it because why do I want to spend money going after a fitness director, executive producer, and all these billionaire actors, own production. How am I going to win against that? That's stupid. I'm going to dump all my money and try and sue him like the guy did for the Avatar. Why? Why would I do that? It must have been good for you to take the story to spawn what it is that you guys are going to do. And maybe they'll want to weave it into mine, but I'm still going to have my movie made, honey. So that's what I hope. I hope to have a Broadway, a blockbuster, a streaming series about my entire family and all of our escapades and everything else that'll be better than Dynasty. I hope to have dolls like Stevie Nicks one day so that people can play with dolls instead of playing with the crack pipe. I mean, the list goes on and on. But most importantly, I'm going to tell you what's in my heart, and that's what I'm leading with. And everything's going to come after that. The Aloha Jigsaw Foundation I founded in 2023 in honor of the fires. And my partner and I, my business partner and I have opened up an academy to teach trade, all forms of trade, okay? From construction, trusses, roofing, to electrical, welding, plumbing. And I'm going to do environmental and mindset training. So it's going to be a mindset and training academy on the island of Maui to help those impacted because the youth there, the groups ages 10 through 17, are struggling. You don't know about that because they don't have it on the news. And of course, the visitor industry doesn't want to talk about it because it doesn't give the picture of Hawaii.
Obviously, giving back is important to you, that your nonprofit like that. I mean, I keep the 5-star reviews out there that state an exhilarating ride from start to finish. The narrative kept me hooked in. I mean, obviously, Kimberly, this is a story of a brave, uneducated, unpolished, and self-doubting female. I mean, really, it's a lesson to us all that personal growth and the choices that chart the course of our lives truly matter. I mean, is this rewarding work for you?
It's very rewarding. And to see it on a massive level with what we have planned, we were on the phone with the office of the mayor yesterday in Maui. We are going to help them because they need help. And obviously, I have my heartstrings and my heart there because that's my Aina. I lived on Maui. I was married on Maui once. I have a lot of memories of Maui. And to see everything happen and have it be forgotten about and them having struggles, I'm glad to participate. But if we can rebuild Maui from the inside out and help our youth, I don't want to see anybody go through what I went through. And if I can help change anyone's life with me just saying a golden nugget that they may hear or experience in our academy, and then they're going to learn trades and be able to take that with them to go get jobs, in the community, they'll be able to be polished and work and travel and have that experience and be cultured. Because I'm not going to down my people, but I'm going to tell you right now, anyone who grows up in Hawaii, a typical local girl, and this isn't to put her down, once she gets a boyfriend who's obsessive and abusive and telling her she's not looking good, and then they beat you up, and then they tell you you're never going to be anything because you're just a dumb girl who doesn't know how to sit still. You believe that and you hear that day in and day out. They end up getting a regular job at a hotel. That's not a bad thing. I wanted to do that too. And that's what they do. And they only think they can do that. I want to inspire people with the entrepreneurial spirit that you can do anything. Anything is possible. You can see it in your mind, you'll hold it in your hand. There's no way I could. I was homeless. How did my husband and I own $8 million worth of real estate and sell out everything recently to pursue other things? Like, it just doesn't happen. But you just take it. It's like the light switch in rehab. That's what Vicky Marino told me, the co-founder of Habilitat in Hawaii, one of the most successful programs in the world. Go to the light switch, turn it on. Okay, turn it off. Okay, turn it on, turn it on. Okay, you just turned off your old self, turn on the new self. That's the light. That's it. That's it. End of story. That's all you got to think. Use that philosophy. And that's what I've done. And I'm a quantum leaper.
As they say, we are one decision away from a totally different life. You have made that decision many times, and you continue to do so. Great story. I'm excited to get it out there to the public. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is our website, where you can learn more about this author and order the books on Amazon. It really seeks to shed light on the complexities of life's choices, highlighting the dualities of elegance and hardship, beauty and peril. Once again, that is The Wise Marine, Paradise Edition, and others available on Amazon. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.